This is my coach, Mr. Bill. It is an honor to have you here. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You'll hear that in a court of law that says no matter whether you knew about it or not, you committed the crime that they're speaking of, and you must pay the penalty, either through forfeiture of assets, perhaps even time in jail, or even prison. Absolutely. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I, however, would counter that. And I would dare say no one on earth can repeat and tell you the 500,000 laws that are on the books. 500,000 laws. And that doesn't end there. There's 500,000 regulations on top of that, or a total of 1 million ways in the land of the free and home of the brave that you can be stopped by law enforcement, interrogated, and they can take your assets unless you can prove you got them legally, and they can also detain you or put you in jail, even prison, and for the rest of your life as far as that goes, even without a trial. Now, I'm not saying wipe out the law totally, but change it. And I said change it. And common sense should always rule above any other law and the mandate of any given law. Common sense. Does the school, in the 13 years they have them in the primary schools, 13 years, did they ever set you down and teach you any laws? Basic common sense to tell you what the laws are out there so that you don't break them. So you don't break them. No, not in my lifetime have I ever seen a class for that, but it sure needs to be there. At the same time, all laws, every law in the books, should have a retirement time so that the law itself, through the government and with the input of the public, says we don't need that law anymore, or we need to adjust it, or we need to tone it down, narrow it, so that it is understandable and controllable by anyone who wishes to utilize and know about it. Absolutely. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. A flood on the Missouri River, and it was going to flood out a farmer's field, destroy it. His crops would be gone for the year. Absolutely. Devastating cost to him, being a small farmer. And so he diked up with his blade on the tractor a mound along the river to keep the water from flowing in at him. And it worked. It stopped the flooding and destruction of his property. Yeah. But during the flooding that went through there, some of that dike and some of the mound of dirt, not a great deal, but some of it washed into the river, as any dirt pile would as the river cut through that area. That dirt flowing into the river was considered by the federal government as polluting the river. Dirt polluting the river, even though, thousands of miles of river have dirt banks on both sides, don't they? How insane to say that dirt bank polluted the river when all of the others didn't. And no one got in trouble except for him. They targeted him. And they heavy fines, and that wasn't even enough. They put him in prison for 5 years. And he openly said, I didn't know it was against the law to try to protect my property with a bank against the river so that it wouldn't come and destroy me. At the same time, some of that dirt did float down into the river. 5 years in prison and a heavy fine. So many ways they have, and so many reasons why people in America of all stages of height of power, from the billionaires down to the self-employed one-man operations. Fear our government. We need to let the government know that ignorance of the law is an excuse. Maybe not a total excuse, but is an excuse with common sense on the side of it. Thank you for your time.